Hey guys, welcome to the next video of our series. Today we're going to be sculpting the muscles and bony protrusions of the lower legs of our character. We're here with our character, it's looking very nice. We're almost done with the whole body and now we're going to be able to finally focus on the face. We're just missing the lower legs and a little bit of information about the feet, which is going to be super fast once we hit that. So let's get going. I'm going to go to Subtool, and the first thing I'm going to do, and this is very important, this is actually something that I should have done quite a while ago, but I forgot to. I'm gonna append a cube. I'm gonna select the cube. I'll click. I'm gonna scale the cube down so it's like a platform, not super thick, just enough that I can see it from the front view. I'm gonna bring the platform right there where she is. I'm gonna make it smaller. It's not, I don't really need it to be super big. It's just like a stand for her to be on. Now, why am I doing this? Well, one of the first things that you're going to notice is once we start getting into the feet, if we don't have a ground to stand on, it gets a little bit complicated to make sure that our character feels like it's actually standing somewhere. It feels like she's just floating in zero gravity. And by having this, it will help us keep us pretty much grounded. Anyway, let's jump back into the character. And the first thing I'm going to do before I start sculpting the muscles, so I'm going to push the form a little bit. Now, if you remember, we have, let me hide the arms. There's one rule that we have in regards to proportions, and that's that the back and the buttocks, or the glutes, are pretty much on the same line. I can, again, add a cube here, just to help me check. Let me scale this down a little bit more. There we go. So if I place this right here on the butt, you're gonna see that the back, it's almost there. In the case of the male characters, it usually has to be like right on, but in female characters, they usually have a little bit more fat on their glutes, so that's gonna give us more volume there, of course. Now, in regards to the calf muscles, and you can see it right here, calf muscles should go slightly, just slightly like this, backward. Okay, slightly back, just a little bit, not that much, because if we just grab the leg and push it like this looks really weird. This looks like an alien or something. So they will go back, but not as much and not as far. Okay, now one thing I am going to do is I'm going to grab my trim dynamic. I'm going to get rid of a little bit of mass here. I don't want the curvature to go, actually I do want the curvature to go all the way down. Not that much, just a little bit, okay? That's gonna give us some thinner ankles. Again, it all depends on the characters. There's this thing I've heard some people call very childish, the cankles, where you have a lot of fat on your ankles and they kind of fuse with the calves. Most of the human characters that we do not have that. And in order to avoid that, we need to make sure that we find where it ends. So I'm gonna grab here my Damien standard. I'm gonna draw very lightly where the tendon pretty much comes and goes down and becomes the Achilles tendon right here. So remember, we mentioned that the Achilles tendon is gonna have, or will have, a couple of cavities here and here. They don't need to be extremely obvious. It's not like they're completely destroying the muscles. Remember that we still have fat, we still have skin, we still have blood vessels and everything, so just suggest them. It's not necessary for it to be extremely obvious there. Now, one thing I do like doing here before I jump into the feet is I like cutting as if it was like a toy. So I cut this in such a way that's easy for me to know where my leg ends and where my foot begins, something like that. I'm not gonna cut the Achilles tendon because it turned out nicely. I'm just gonna leave it like that. I'm gonna add a little bit of volume here for the fibula. I'm gonna add a little bit of volume here for the tibia. Maybe remove a little bit there so it's a little bit sharper. There you go. Maybe I want the ankles to be a little bit, just a little bit thinner. Okay, now here's the curve thing I was talking about. If I append again another cube, cubes are great because they give you the volume and the ability to just check whether or not things are working nicely. So I'm gonna place this in the dead center. Now, As you can see here, the problem that I have is the fact that the lower leg looks very straight. You can see most of the volume is here and most of the volume is here. It's like 50-50. And if you remember, when we were here on Photoshop, I mentioned that most of the volume should be on the outer side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my move brush. I'm just going to push this slightly out. Not that much, just slightly. So that, yeah, we can get that nice looking curvature. Maybe that was a bit too much. I do want most of the volume to be on the outside, like so. If I don't want it to be that big, maybe I can push this in and then push this in a little bit, just a little bit. There we go. Again, it depends on the type of character, how athletic you want her to be. In this case, I do want her to be very sexy, very pretty, so I am pushing it a little bit more than I would usually do for my characters. I'm gonna delete this. I'm gonna go back to my character. I'm gonna grab my clay buildup and I'm gonna do the ridge. I'm gonna add the volume for the ridge. Remember, right here below the patella, which is the kneecap, right there. We're gonna have the triangle. I have like 2 divots here. 1, 2. Let me change this into the round one so it's a little bit more organic and not as ugly looking. There we go. And then the ridge is gonna come right here. The ridge is really helpful because it's gonna allow us to divide the compartments similar to what we have on the forearm, but in the leg. Just smooth that out. I'm gonna grab my Damien Standard. I'm gonna just add a little bit of a line here. You're gonna see more of this division towards the upper side of the tibia and a little bit less towards the bottom side. It's just like a suggestion there. Again, it doesn't have to be extremely graphical. You don't have to add all the volume there. It's just for the audience to know that things are going on there. And back here, from the fat that we talked about, there we go. So we're gonna have the diamond shape here coming from the top, and then the diamond shape here coming from the bottom. Smooth that out, and that's what you're gonna see. The connective tissue there, it's not gonna be like a 90-degree angle there. It's gonna be a little bit more organic looking. So just make sure to give it a nice form there. There we go. There we go. Now the only thing I'm missing here is the apex of the calf muscles. I can see that I have a very nice looking one here. I'm just gonna sharpen it a little bit. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna come. Damn, this looks like a tongue twister now. I'm gonna be going over this part right here. I'm gonna remove a little bit of the surface so that it gets this sharp looking area. Now this is just personal preference. I like seeing the apex of the muscles a little bit more than what you would usually see. If you don't think this looks good, that's totally fine. It's just, again, an artistic choice. I sometimes do this for now and then go back and change if I see it's way too much, but I like it. Same here. I try to kind of create the point where the calf changes from going actually, no, that doesn't look as good in this case. That really works for male characters. Male characters tend to benefit a little bit more from having their apexes very defined. But in case of female characters, it's really not that big of a deal. So there we go. That's the outer apex for my female character right here on the other side of the leg. And that's it. The blocking for pretty much all the body is done. We're just missing the feet, which are not going to be that big of a deal. And we're gonna be good to go into the face. Now, before we close this video, I want to show you the thing I was talking about here in Photoshop. Let me turn this off. About this opening and closing of the legs. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna mask lasso pretty much everything on the lower side of my character. Place this right there on the iliac spine and on the femur, and just rotate. And if you rotate and get your heels together, or as close together as possible, you should see this. And this is the feminine shape I was talking about. Look how it looks like a knife, like sharp or slim towards the bottom side. And see how, if I place, again, my cube, and I rotate it so that it touches both the iliac spine up here and the ankle down there, most of the muscle and most of the mass is going to be on the outside of the character. That's an indication of a good result. That means you're in a good spot. If you do this and most of your leg is on the inside, there might be a little things in proportions that you need to check out. But pretty much everything can be fixed at this point, and once you get everything going, it should be easier for you. So just keep going, keep pushing, keep sculpting, and I'll see you guys in the next video when we hit the last part of the whole body, which is the feet. Anyway, guys, this was a very tongue-twisty video. Sorry for that. Hopefully the information was clear for you. I'll see you in the next video. Keep sculpting. Bye-bye.